Hey everybody, Dan here with first time offender, first hazing experience, past Mastelotto with his dogs and a squeaky toy, and I got a couple of my doggies back here somewhere. Oh, the music's starting all over, it's on a loop.
Oh, it's a fight to the finish here. It's a fight to the finish.
It's a standoff. Who's gonna end up with the squeaky toy? Folks, if you're a dog lover, chime in. And if you're a lover of Pat's music, chime in and tell us what you're into. So many wonderful projects that you've been involved with, Pat. But first, I have something kind of funny to sort of crack the ice with. I don't know if you remember this, but a few years ago, and I'm going to put something on the screen. A few years ago on Drum Talk TV, this is maybe 8 or 10 years ago, something like that. We posted this meme here that says, name the loudest band you saw in concert. And I personally posted this on the Drum Talk TV social channels. And I wrote, mine was King Crimson in the Construction of Light tour. It was so loud that I got nauseous and had to leave during the 4th song. And I've never left a concert. And after a few hundred comments, I'm scanning and I saw that you commented and like apologized. I'm sorry, it was a bad experience, this and that. I don't know if you remember that, but this was a while ago. And I've been around loud music my whole life. I've been playing drums since I was almost 7. I never wore hearing protection. It's like I've done some damage, but something about maybe where we were sitting and the volume and the frequencies, and all of a sudden I had Meniere's disease for just that one night. Just bizarre. So I had to share that story with everybody. And you.
I'm curious to know the venue. What was the venue?
It was in LA at what used to be called. Yeah, it was at the Universal Amphitheater, which is now the Harry Potter exhibit part of the big theme park they have. Wow. They tore it down, but a lot of great shows I saw there. But yeah, Universal Amphitheater.
I played there quite a few times. And was that with opening for
you guys? No, you guys headlined in 2000, and John Paul Jones, some dude from Lead something, opened for you guys.
Yeah,
I don't even remember who he is.
Oh, I didn't remember we played there. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who was mixing on that tour, because there was a mixer that Crimson had for a short while in between other mixers, and he didn't last the whole tour. He made it, I guess we started on the West Coast. That could be the same character.
The crux of the situation.
Yeah, maybe, because it rode on for a long time. I remember we let him go, not me personally, but the band had a meeting to just keep him for the last few shows, and then he rang me and Trey a few minutes later because we were friends with him. And so, what the fuck? Your road manager just fired me. I got a bus ticket home, and that was in Boston. We played at Berkeley, and it was incredibly loud, and we'd heard that from everyone.
I know that the show was in 2000, and it was the Construction of Light tour. Yeah. And I'm 95% sure that was the venue. We were like 11, 12 rows back, stage left, sort of to the side there.
Well, think about this. The show you're describing, I think I was playing almost all V drums.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yes. I might have brought back a kick and a snare and one cymbal.
Yeah.
But the rest was all V drums. And I monitored those V drums so quiet on stage to accommodate Adrian and Robert. They like a quiet stage, and the sound man for that matter, that I could have a conversation on stage while we played, because my roadie would come over. It was Bill Munyon was with me on that tour. And he said, Pat, your pads are louder in the house than your drums. He said we can hear the pads, So there was a mixing issue on that tour, man.
Well, the music was great though, and what you brought up about using the V drums, I have a question I've always wanted to ask you. Being that you've done so much work with electronic drums, electronic percussion, the fight is still going on. We're going to see by the end of the interview who wins. I have a feeling I know. Pat, why is it that so many, and I won't even say people, let's just narrow it down to just drummers, okay? Why are so many drummers critical or against or have negative energy and comments toward electronic drums and percussion, yet those same people are very accepting of electric guitars, electric basses, electric pianos, keyboards, synthesizers, organs. What is the issue people have with electronic percussion and drums? Like it's not real or something. Can you give us your take on that, please? Drives me
My
crazy.
yeah, my take on it from a player is the touch is not there. It's not even with the most expensive, best. I've got the DWE drums now, which are set up out here,
Yeah,
and they sound great on playback and stuff. But when you're actually playing them, there's the dynamics and the touch. As much as they try to get it right, it's not right. It's not the same. You lose nuances, you lose your feel a little bit. Obviously, the cymbals are more difficult than the drums. A tom
right.
tom a little easier, but these new DWE drums are pretty crazy. They're Bluetooth. There's no cables,
Right.
and you've got a throw off strainer on the snare, so it goes on and off, just like a lot of things. You can press on the head and pitch changes, but still the nuance is not there. So as a player, that's what I feel. I think as a listener, I don't think you'd know a lot of times. There's so many
I
samples used
agree.
on modern recordings and stuff. I don't know
Yeah,
why people in the
absolutely.
audience would really care,
Yeah,
except for, there's something about a nice sweaty Keith Moon wailing away at the drums. It's
yeah.
uh, it's pleasing
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
me.
I have an Alesis mesh kit, and the feel is completely different, and the cymbals are very, they got different strike zones on the cymbals, and while you can choke them, it is different. There's almost like a little bit of a delay, and you
Yep,
can't physically like change the choke, if you will, like you could with a
yep,
real
yep.
cymbal. But I think there's also a lot of people that are against the sounds, just like they are against for lack of better words, a drum machine. And I'm sure you remember when like the Lin drum came out,
Oh
one
yeah,
of the
I've got
first big,
mine. It's up and running again. I've got it.
really like this big, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's under wraps here, but as
Wow,
long as
how
they're in the room,
cool.
that's
Oh,
the baby right there.
wow.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the real deal. You can sequence it and
yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah. Yeah, well, that's the Lin 9000, which I also have one of those out in the closet that did
Wow,
more
that is
sequencing.
so neat.
That's more of a drum machine. And then I don't know if you saw, I bought it just before the Misters came here in September a few months ago. Alesis has made a new version here. Let me turn some light on for you. Uh, can you see that, baby? But I lost the
Oh,
power
there it is.
cable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks very similar, but it's got its
Yeah.
own power adapter, and I misplaced that. So
Oh,
I
you could
need to.
probably get a new one online.
Yeah, I just haven't gotten there. There's so much stuff to stay busy, and I don't. I was interested in having that ready when the Misters were here because the original one, when I just showed you over here, that guy is a little toasty. I don't know if you can see what
Yeah.
he actually looks
What
like.
year is that?
This one,
Mid 80s?
early '80s. In
Early.
fact, that is the only one I've ever had. That was given to me the day I auditioned for Mr. Mister.
Oh,
If it wasn't that day, it was the following day because they'd been auditioning drummers for months and bought the Lin drum. And when I auditioned, they had some of the songs programmed, so they pressed go, and my gig walking in was play along.
yeah.
And um, when I asked Richard later, I said, "Man, you guys decided really fast that I was in the band. It was like that one day. By the time I was done, they said, come back tomorrow." And I think that's the day they said, "You take the Lin drum home. We don't need it. We have you." But when I
Oh,
asked Rich, I said, "Man, how could you decide that fast? You never went in the other room to discuss the new guy." You know what I mean? It was
yeah.
just thumbs up, right? Rich said, "You were the only guy who could get to the end of the song with the Lin drum."
Oh, wow. Did that
So,
quick decision put any additional pressure on you? Like, did you second guess anything, or was it like, okay, I'm in, what a relief?
no, not with the Mistress. It didn't. I didn't know those guys, so
Right.
I was just meeting them. I met Richard Page and Steve George and Steve. Did I know Ferris? I might have known Ferris. Maybe I went and met him once.
Mhm.
So, and the manager George Giz came down, and I believe Paul Atkinson, the guy who eventually signed us to RCA Records. I know the producer that did our first record, Peter McKeon. He had the big hit then with Men at Work, and he'd heard about Pages. They were called Pages when I went down to audition, and he
Oh,
wanted to produce their next record. They were on Epic. They had been signed by Bobby Colomby, the drummer from Blood, Sweat and Tears.
Yeah.
went on to produce and sign Jaco Pastorius and many other people. He
Right.
was with Epic for a while. That's where he signed Pages. Then he moved to Capitol and he took Pages with him. So I was auditioning. They'd already made one record at Capitol. Mostly Vinny's playing drums on that. And in fact, I wasn't interested in taking the audition when my friend Kim Bullard, as he called me, he said, you might want to call this manager, George, manages Rich and Slug. And I said, "Oh, that's Vinny. I can't play that. I don't want to even go to the audition. It'd be embarrassing, you know." uh, and he said, "No, no, no. They don't want to do that. They want to do something more like." He described it to me. It was either Kim or the manager, George, said, "We need something like Hall and Oates, where we have two
Oh,
people, our team, Steve George and Richard Page, the Pages guys. They're the band, and they have a signed backup band. The way that Mickey Curry and T Bone and
mm-hmm.
I forget GE, was he the guitar player? I forget, but
Yeah.
they had a core band that made them have a band sound.
Yeah.
It wasn't all sidemen different on every track. So yeah.
Very interesting. Let's go way back. I'm sure you've been asked this before and you've told the story before, but for many of our viewers and listeners, they might not know. When and why drums? What got you started in drums? And is that your first instrument, your only instrument? Do you play other instruments? But let's start with when and why.
I play the squeaky toy.
The squeaky
Um,
toy you're really good at, but you've got
yeah,
help with that. Yeah, I've seen you play drums
yeah,
by yourself.
I've been milking it for a while. Let's see. I started to play because largely it was the British invasion, the Beatles and everything else around that time. I was born in 55, so I was prime for 63, 64, 65, whenever the British invasion, whenever you want to tag that. So
Right.
I went all in on that. I tried to play. My mother was already trying to have me take piano lessons. I wasn't interested. I didn't get it. And so I started to try to take guitar. I maybe took 2 or 3 lessons, and it hurt. So I was actually my mother put me in a summer arts program. So it was between sixth and seventh grade. I was like 10, about, and uh, I signed up to play French horn. There was an episode. This is pretty crazy, but you'll remember, I think, The Man from Uncle, the
Yeah.
original one.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
you remember Ilya Kuryakin?
Yeah.
David Callum, maybe was his name.
Yeah.
He, in an episode, played a spy who had to go into Eastern Europe, and it was something to do with the orchestra or the symphony, but he didn't know how to play. So he's a French horn player with a broken arm, so he could be undercover. And I thought, man, it's cool, French horn, spy, yeah. So I chose the French horn,
What a
and the teacher,
combination.
well, the teacher didn't. He looked at me, he said, "I need drummers." He looked at me, he says, "You've got big hands, you go over there." So he sent me back to the drums. It wasn't like I
Oh,
chose,
wow.
but within minutes, hours, I go, "Oh man, this is cool. I get to beat on things. This is much more me than this
That's cool.
finger thing. I get to swing my arms."
Yeah.
And uh, so it was a pretty immediately that I had 2 buddies in grade school. Kevin and Mike were Catholic school kids, and we formed a power trio. They had acoustic nylon string guitars, so we were a very unpowerful power trio. Um, and we started to learn in the Gata de Vita and Doors and stuff like that. And I got a hi hat. We played for the nuns. We used to have to sing for the nuns to get your music grade.
Mm.
And that was horrible to stand up. So we said, "Can we play a song?" So we played 2 acoustic guitars and a tambourine or a hi hat, and we played Sound of Silence. And the next semester is the one that surprised me when I think back on it. Is we played Rain by the Beatles, but I
Oh,
didn't. I didn't have any tom toms. I don't
so
know
what
what I
you
had.
did.
A hi hat and a snare. There's no kick drum. Um, anyway, then we got electric instruments, and by 8th grade, we had enough repertoire that I was offered a gig. Our first gig was at the public school graduation, 8th grade graduation.
Did you guys have a name, Pat?
Yes, we did actually. The official name would be the Creamy Head Blues Band. Um,
Ooh,
and how we arrived at that, besides loving Cream, everything Hendrix and Cream, and everything in those days was a blues band that we dug, was John Mayall records and all these things we were pulling out. So
right.
you sort of had to attach blues to the name. But
Mhm.
here's the bit of the story. Kevin and Michael, those two kids. Michael, we rehearsed behind Michael's parents owned a liquor store, and we rehearsed
Oh,
in the back of the liquor store where there was a lot of bottles.
this
And
already sounds dangerous, but go on.
we're already taking a little nip. We're only 12 maybe, but we got to taste it. And they had slow gin. It said creamy head slow gin, and we thought, wow,
Oh,
that's great. And I'll find you. I've got the posters from the old gigs. I used to help promote the gigs. I met some people that made me realize, oh, if you can't get a gig, just make a gig. So
right,
you rent out the auditorium, and you hire a couple cops. You had to hire the cops,
right.
and I don't really know how we pulled it off, but we did. I co-promoted with some other. Gosh, we might have been 14 or something.
How cool.
Anyway,
What
that's
was
how
your
it's
first professional calling?
first professional call. You mean a first professional drum
Yeah,
gig, or
yeah. Like first paid, this is a gig that you're hired.
Well, we were hired for that graduation party. We got 15
Okay,
bucks, $5
that
each.
counts. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My mom drove us, and around that time, I did at least one gig, um, because it's how I think I had to join the musicians union. And I was about 13 or 14, and it was a pizza parlor, and it was me and a piano player, little chubby boys wearing a straw hat, I guess.
Yep.
But the other kid who was at my school, I grew up with, but I didn't really hang with him very much because um, anyway, it was Jim Cox. Do you know Jimmy Cox? He
Yeah.
fucking played with Alan Holdsworth. He's great. He was
Yeah.
always a killer player then. We
Oh,
just traveled
wow.
in different social circles. But so I've known Jimmy since we were like 12 years old, although we
Wow.
never played together because I was in stoner bands. I was just with drug addicts and college guys, and he was a little bit safer than that.
I didn't know there
Um,
were other kind of bands. What was he doing?
oh yeah.
If you think back to, that must have been like 67, 68 that you're talking about. That $15 is worth like $822 now. I mean, that went a
Yeah,
long way, right?
yeah, probably did.
Hamburgers
I'm
were
not.
15 cents.
We spent it fast. I can't remember. My mom had the LTD wagon. She drove us. I think we did 3 or 4 gigs like that before that decomposed. The band, that is. Yeah.
That's neat. Were your parents always very supportive like that of the
Oh, my
arts and
mom.
music?
My mom was. My mom was very supportive and very into. Oh, I don't know how to put it. She we were. They came. Her family came out from Arkansas during the Dust Bowl. So
Hmm.
it's not the most artistically inclined, and but it's important to my mom. She always wanted us to go to a ballet. Come on, I didn't care about that. Me and my sister, you got to take ballet lessons from my sister. You got to take piano. She was always pushing arts. Um,
Mm.
the first name is Lee for Leonardo da Vinci, as if,
Oh,
yeah. I quickly became Pat. That was still in grade school. We moved around so much that accidentally switched my names, or I did accidentally, and they started to call me Pat in about fourth grade. And I
oh,
thought, this is great. I'll be Pat. I don't like this Lee. Isn't working for me. My dad was never as supportive. In
uh,
fact, he tried to buy me out of he wanted me in his business. He had a construction contracting business, did work on, like rock quarries, and I did a lot of that stuff. Believe me, uh, different ways to work on highway construction and things like that. So I have experience there. I am a certified public waymaster in the state of California
oh, good grief. Wow.
since
Well,
I was 12 years old, because that's when you can put a kid
wow.
to work and not
Right.
pay him, and put him out on the job site to
Exactly.
stamp these things and weigh the
How
trucks and stuff. Yeah.
funny. Yeah. Did your dad get to see your success in the music
Yeah,
industry?
yeah, yeah, he did, because, like I say, all the way till I was, gosh, I was married, maybe 25 or something. He's
Okay.
still offering me. I found a job.
Oh,
You can go to Dubai. I never heard it. You can make $100,000 and be back here in 6 months and buy a house. I'm
yeah.
not going to be a bell diver in Norway, Dad. That's not what I'm about. But he hated. I don't know if he hated, but he just wasn't into the music thing.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was, when we had a hit with Broken Wings with the Misters, there came a time when the local newspaper, or I guess it would have been the newspaper, not the radio station, um, track my dad down to talk about his kid. So
Oh,
I've got
interesting.
yeah.
What a great story. Thanks for sharing that, Pat.
Mm.
Before we talk about two wonderful projects that you've been involved with, I want to talk about gear, and I want to pull up a couple pictures here. And before I do, I have to say a funny little surprise I got the first time I interviewed someone Bill Bruford. Before we started the interview, um, I said, "Hey, hey, we'll talk about this, that, the other thing." And I said, "And if it's okay, we'll touch on gear, on drum gear." And I don't know if you feel the same way, but I was shocked when Bill said, "Yeah, I'm not really into gear." And that turned my whole world into the shape of a pretzel because all the last 4 decades I've admired, or 3.5, I've admired on his website that he has a diagram of every different drum setup on every different record and tour that he's done. So I thought, this is a great gentleman to talk about gear about. And he's like, yeah, not really into gear. I'm like, what? It's like me saying I'm not into talking about dogs. We have 4 rescue dogs and 2. It just didn't make sense. So if you're cool with it, I'd like to show you everybody some pictures and talk about gear a little bit. Is that all right?
Yeah, totally. And I think Bill maybe is a little more than he lets on. But the quote that I have from Bill, which is so brilliant, um, I think it was at his house, and I only saw one old drum, which was an old Yes drum head up on the shelf somewhere. And I said, "Oh, you still have those Heyman drums?" Or say, "Oh, no, I don't have any of that stuff." He said, "My attachment to the instrument ends at the tip of my stick."
How
Yeah, it's
interesting.
fucking brilliant.
Yeah, that is
And really,
really,
you put him on any drum, he'll sound like Bill no matter where you put him.
yeah, absolutely. And I challenge anybody, including you, I challenge anybody to say, oh, this guy or that girl, that man, that lady, that woman, that gentleman, they sound just like Bill Bruford. No one sounds like Bill. Nobody. He's got his own sound more than John Bonham, Buddy Rich, or anybody else, I think.
Yeah,
It's
I think
quite
so.
interesting. He's been so influential, yet nobody's really like copied his sound, which I find to be truly unique. So, there's this other argument. We talked about electronic percussion and drums earlier. There's this other, I'll say, argument, debate. It's like the squeaky toy battle. Like, you don't need a lot of drums. The most stupidest comment I've ever seen of our 1.5 million fans online is a picture or video of, I don't even remember who was playing a big drum set like Carl Palmer, Bill Bruford, you, somebody, and someone commented and said, "Oh, someone doesn't know how to play a 4-piece." Like, it doesn't even compute in any way. It's like someone driving a car with 4 wheels and someone says, "Oh, someone doesn't know how to ride a unicycle." What? So let's go through some of your gear, starting with one that I think you're way overdoing it with. Okay. Like, I'm into big drums and lots of stuff, but what's up with this? You're way overdoing it with this, Pat. What's going on there?
Oh, well, those are my little Ludwigs. I got my wife found them in a yard sale out in Woodland Hills, actually.
Nice. That's where,
Yeah,
that's where I went to
yeah,
junior high and high school, Hale and El Camino.
yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know which record that is, but I do that quite often.
Nice.
It becomes a big drum set when you have to go out and try to play the whole record.
Yeah. And you got all these beautiful toys. What is this item right here? It's not a Tibetan bowl. It looks like an Asian sort of chime, perhaps,
Uh,
or bell.
oh, interesting. I just pulled out. Okay, well, can I take a little walk here as long as you're
Y
going down this way?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely. You could
so
go
I'm
left
in my
to right or from the hi-hat, whatever you wanna do.
well, I'm in the control room right now. I'm walking
Oh,
out into
gotcha. A
my
walk in there.
tracking area.
Okay.
I'm in my
Yeah. Yeah.
so for instance, I had Tony Levin and Marcus here last week or the week before, just for a couple of days. So I set
Okay.
up a small kit back here. I don't know if you can see that, a little kit of Gretsch.
Yeah. I'll
And
take this out for just a
it's
moment.
let's see if we can fit that on your screen. I got a
By
couple
by
ribbon
the
knives.
way, I hear that no one can put up with Marcus or Tony for more than a couple days. Just
Oh,
kidding.
that's not
Just
true.
kidding.
Yeah, ha ha. Anyway,
Yeah, that's a
so
beautiful
a
little kit.
small kit, and then
Yep.
I have the DWE drums. I used all these while they were there. I would jump, just to get a different vibe and see where it took us.
Yeah.
And you'll notice on my DWE drums, I use a calfskin head.
Nice.
I think that's a
Yeah.
nice touch. Make it a
Beautiful.
little more organic. And then the kit that I usually play with live, even with Stickman, is basically this kit,
Oh,
which is I used to just be one or two up, but with playing with Gavin, I ended up with three. I used to play three
ah,
up maybe when I was 20 years old, 25. But to play with Gavin and Jeremy and do some of the parts we had, I needed the five toms to match what Gavin's melodies. We played
yeah.
melodies. And so that's kind of with the sampler pad and the hand sounding. The thing you just asked about was funny. It's this, and it's a bell that has no middle. I
Oh,
pulled it out with Tony the other night to go, oh, this will be great, and the thing has fallen out of it. It's silent.
oh, wow.
So I
How
just hit it
neat.
with a stick.
Where'd you get it? Where's it from? Do you know the origin?
Well, I know the origin of a lot of my stuff. You see, I have a lot of percussion I've been trying to organize since I moved in here.
Yeah.
Um, Now, a lot of this stuff actually, it's in the Bay Area. Winds Over the Earth, is that what it's called? Lark in the Morning.
Lark in the
Lark in the
morning. I'll have to
Morning.
check that place out.
Oh man, they have eclectic, weird stuff that used to travel the world to find these things.
Wow.
Um, my stuff comes from a variety of places, but these little things, I think they call them a Surrey. Like,
Oh, wow.
I travel a lot to find those, and they have them right there online. I've got a few different ones.
Where are those from, Pat? What's the,
Well, the first one I found somewhere in Europe. This one,
do you know
these other ones,
the cultural background?
I don't.
of the
I
instrument?
don't. I know this much that when Bill saw that I used it, he brought it down. It was actually at Royal Albert Hall. We played a few nights, and he came down the next day. It was like a toilet paper tube with some little spokes. That's how this works. There's little spokes in
Oh,
here that the bell. Can you see inside there? Probably
yeah.
not. But
Yeah.
Bill had a homemade one.
Oh, wow.
And he had used that. He might have even said that was Jamie Muir's, because it was from that era. I recognize it now. It's at it's on Lark's Tongue and Aspic Records. You can hear that.
And you
I'm
could
not
probably see
sure
it in
really
one
what
of
you
the
call it.
pictures or something, right?
I don't know pictures. I can hear it on the record because
Yeah.
I
That's interesting.
working with Crimson. I was offered the access to the samples by
Yeah.
getting into the library.
What an amazing
So
library. Wow. Jamie was a genius.
yeah, I mean stuff like the chomp in Easy Money chomp. It's a bag of leaves. I
Oh,
would never
wow.
know that. He picked up a garbage bag, paper bag. I don't really know, and swamp. Um, the squeaky kind of sound. Sometimes I use these. I found these. They're like shotgun shells or something hunters use.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've
How
got a couple.
interesting.
I found the first one somewhere, and then years and years later, somebody saw me with it
Oh,
and
yeah.
offered. Said, "Oh, I have one of those at home." It was in Italy actually. An Italian stagehand brought me that one. It was his father's. So I realize now. I think they were like a duck call. They were some kind of a bird call for a hunter.
Huh.
Um, but the
Weird.
sound that I was trying to emulate on Lark's Tongue using that was. Bruford told me it was a piece of plastic, a piece of Perspex, and he had a rubber glove on it, and he was, you know,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
That makes sense. Totally makes sense.
And when you showed me that picture, this is the piece I thought you were pointing at, which is a unique piece.
Oh,
It's
different as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I call it a chalice. That's made by Bill Saragosa. So when I was tracking down weird gear, pretty soon people know, hey, you're the guy that likes weird gear. So you show up at a venue and say, hey, I got a friend, Papa Diego. He's making these things out of oil cans. Okay, let's meet Papa Diego and see what we get. So this guy was Bill Saragosa, and he eventually hooked up with Meinl. So you see a lot of his stuff has been remade by Meinl.
Oh,
But he
nice.
was a welder. Isn't that beautiful?
It
This stuff is
is.
kind of yeah. And he
Yeah.
he figured out this little. I can't quite touch it for you, but down here at the bottom you can tune it. There's
Oh,
there's like BBs in the bottom, and up here in the top there's like nuts and bolts in there.
wow.
Yeah, so
What
it's
a
a
trip.
really and it's strong enough. Mine's been re-welded. I don't know if you can see that. I have two of them because I broke it
Oh,
in
I see
half.
that. Yep.
Yeah. Um, so I use it quite a bit and would actually hit drums with it or play hi-hat, play it like a shaker
Oh,
stick.
yeah.
Real big and sloshy. Excuse me.
What's
Anyway,
what's the thing in the cubby that has like the slots that looks like a sun almost? Um,
oh
it,
boy.
it, wa- it was where you just grabbed that last item, I think.
Oh, it's
It,
over here.
yeah, there it is to your left.
Okay,
Right.
this thing.
No,
That's
the next cub be over to the left.
this
That
guy.
thing, like, yeah. What is that? Is that a steel tongue
Um,
drum? I have a couple steel tongue drums. It kind of looks like that.
no, I can't remember the guy that made that. I'll pull it out here. It's got little feet on it, and you can
Oh,
have it elevated. Actually,
so
you
it's
can
like a
resonate.
suspended surface of almost a steel
Well,
tongue drum type of
they're
thing.
kind of random pitches. Here.
Oh, wow.
So
That sounds
it'd be
amazing.
quite different if it was on a dead surface.
Yeah, resonating through the floor tom sounded great.
Um,
That's
yeah,
neat.
I forget. I found with three drummers in the band, part of the gig became what can I do? What can I add that doesn't get in the way?
Right,
Stuff
right,
like that. I don't want to just be sitting up here for 4 minutes until the next thing that is an important part. So
right.
we took Bill Rieflin, Gavin, and I from the very beginning. We took the approach of an orchestra where, if you're the bassoon player, you're going to sit there until your part comes.
Right.
So
TACET, tacit.
yeah, the word we drummers don't know. I didn't know it for a long time.
Right.
Yeah, that was our lesson in the very beginning, because we started trying to figure out what are we going to do. Like, do we leave the stage if we're not there for, you know, like Starless? I play the first 3 minutes of the song, the ballad section. Gavin has to sit there, uh, you know. So,
It's interesting because you took the approach, the three of you, as an orchestra, and to me, I've always thought as the drum kit and a sort of percussion as an orchestra in itself. It's an ensemble. A guitar has strings and you play it as an instrument. A bass, same thing. Piano, for all intents and purposes, same thing. But a drum set, every single singular instrument can get so many different sounds depending on how you hit it, where you hit it, what you hit it with. And I think that's some of the magical spice of being a percussionist or a drummer is we have, I think, more access to sounds than a lot of drummers really realize. I think so many don't take time to experiment with a cymbal and see what are all these different zones on the ride, as
yeah,
opposed to just, okay, there's the bell and there's the ride, and I get so much pleasure out of just playing around with a singular instrument to see what does it do. Hit the rim, sure. Hit the mount, sure. Hit the lug, whatever, right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I guess uh, my love of chemicals in the late 60s and 70s led me down a sonic path. The sound was as much as the part to me, like a hand in a glove. If the sound doesn't fit the part doesn't work. you
Right,
know
right. I love
it's the thing. Hendrix, Purple Haze on the kazoo, maybe it wouldn't have been a big deal.
that blade of grass.
Yeah.
Jason from Canada, and that's his handle on YouTube, is watching, says, good morning from Vancouver, British Columbia. I enjoy Pat's musical diversity. That's great. And speaking of diversity, let's show, just if it's okay, I'll just cruise through some more gear here. We've got that
Okay.
kit that we talked about. We've got this amazing setup. I love, what is that? The bat wing symbol? What is that?
Yeah, that's a character. Okay, his name is Matt Nolan. I believe he's Scottish, but he lives in England. And
Is
I
that
don't know how
allowed?
it hurt.
To be
Yeah,
allowed?
I think he came to a Christabel gig, and I met him afterwards. And then he made some cute little things, very small pocket-sized things. He said these are easy to travel with, and I kept hooking up with him. He'd come to shows, and when this Crimson started, the last Crimson in 2013, when Robert called, we started gigging in 2014 with Gavin and Bill Rieflin and then Jeremy State, that version of the band. Robert Fripp said to me, he says, and you'll have a gong, yes? And I thought, well, yeah, I have a Peisty gong. It's over in the rack over here, which is an interesting one that I bought when I was a teenager, and I drilled a hole in the middle to make it a ride cymbal. So it's a very ugly, dead ride cymbal, much like what Bozio did later. But that's the ride cymbal I had on the Sylvian Fripp tour.
Oh,
So it's still, so I didn't tell Robert, yes, I have a gong, but it sounds like shit because I drilled a hole in the middle of it. So I called Matt Nolan because he makes gongs, and he would, for instance, make one as the Schizoid Man Screaming Face. He
Oh,
could have done that. So I said, Robert, I have this opportunity here. Would you like it to look like this or that? And he goes, no, no, no. So it was Matt's idea. He made the bat wing for me, or the
nice.
butterfly wing,
Yeah.
and I bent it. So he made me a second one, and I just put them up after Tony and the guys left. They're over here now, and they're playable. I,
Oh, wow. Oh, nice.
yeah, I found a
Wow.
place I could hang them. It was such a mess when Tony and Marcus were here. I was trying to find things that I couldn't. So the very following day, I had a friend, Elvin Patrick, come over and we organized the cymbals, which look pretty good now. Everything you can actually find. You know, I spent the day looking for a 14-inch hi-hat that I remembered was like an old dead Sabian or something that,
Nice.
yeah, I couldn't find it. So
I'll
now I know
click
what.
through a few more. Thanks for sharing that. This is just such a great playpen. Oh my gosh, I'd love to just lose myself in there for a couple hours. And then there's this, which has a nice assortment, a hybrid kit with all kinds of electronic percussion
I
as well
think that
as,
was when I was playing with Bozio. We
oh,
double drummed with Alan Holsworth, improvisational tour. So
oh,
I think there's not many cymbals because he had a lot of cymbals.
right. And there's some
Um,
electronic symbols mixed in there.
yeah,
We got this one, two, three, couple pads on either side of the snare, like that
yeah,
other kit you showed us that you have there. Cool. And
yeah.
then we've got what some people would say, that's kind of a normal kit, but you've also
Uh-huh.
got the pads here.
Yeah,
Um, and some more drum stuff mixed in. I just love drums and percussion. It's just endless, you know. It's like how many trombones, no offense, but how many
uh-huh.
trombones can you buy that would make different sounds? Not that if I was a trombone player, I wouldn't mind getting different trombones from different decades and vintages, but with drums and percussion, it's just a whole other world. All of these
Abs-
wonderful goodies.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a gig I did with Terry. We set up a whole stage with mostly his stuff.
What's this, a
Uh,
1922 radio? What is that?
I don't really remember. There might have been a crank handle with that to make a siren sound. I
Oh,
can't,
wow.
I'm not sure.
Nice.
Uh,
And then
yeah,
there's
that's a weird
that.
one. That
Yep.
was, I think that was 2008 when we double drummed with Gavin. So I went to that floor tom. The last floor tom you see down there, the maple one
Yeah,
is
it's
a
cut down.
18. Yeah, it's cut in half. It's a really kind of tree like Gertu kick drum sound. So that's really like a three-piece kit. In fact, the blue drum I prepared the year or two before that when we did the Power to Believe. That's got snares on the bottom, so it's a schnom.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, and I wanted to be more pads. It looks like I got those white pads up. Those were the Hand Sonic, the model in between the
Right.
first one and the black one.
I have a question about that. Like, what is with the problem minimalists have with only having one of these? Like, what's up with that?
Oh, I don't know what that's about. I don't know. Yeah. It's
Thi
only got 10 pads. You can stick a pedal into it. Maybe you need more. More,
Right.
more is more. That's the meaning of
Mo
more.
More is more, absolutely. This here is almost, in photograph anyway, almost the exact color of my main drum kit that in 1983, before the LA Olympics, I had a kit that I built upon. I had my 1970 Pearl Red Sparkle, then I got two chrome on wood concert toms, then a tom, a 5-piece Imperial Star. They're all different colors. And then I shipped them off to a guy who painted show cars, and I mixed the color paint myself that was almost a chroma key blue. And they're almost like that color now, which is really interesting. Uh,
Well, that drum was a gift to me. I don't know if you know Garrison that works at TW, he's our
yeah.
installation guy. Garrison's a great guy, and over time, he one day he sent me that. He says, "I felt it's a Camco." He said, "I know you like those old Camcos." He said, "I just found this one," and he also sent me a rack tom, but it doesn't match. There's a blue one and a white marine pearl rack tom.
Cool. I think there's one more. Yeah, how do you play that kit?
Okay, you don't play that kit. There's a
Okay.
quick slightly quick, funny story I could tell you. There's a character, Avraham Bank. I met, I don't know how long ago it's been now, 10 or 15 years by now. And actually, he was around backstage. I thought he was a friend of Adrian Belews. And when I left, I said, Adrian, your friend's a hoot. I really enjoyed talking. He said, I never met the guy before in my life. So anyway, that's Abraham, and he's a photographer. He's a very interesting character, Russian guy that's been living in America for a long time, up in Baltimore. Huge baseball fan. He takes baseball sports photography, so
Oh,
it's real high-end camera stuff. So he said to me one day, I would love to take a picture with like 1,000 drums backlit behind a drummer. And I said, well, just come to my house. We can do that. I got all the drums in the world at my house. So I was in Canada, and the phone rang or something. He says, I'm here. I said, you're where? He says, I'm in Austin. I said, what are you talking about? He says, I'm here to do the pictures. But you never told me you were coming. I'm not home. I'm in Canada. I'm on tour.
oh my gosh, how
that
funny.
was that was a Friday. I said, actually, I'm coming home tomorrow. This is the last gig of this run. Maybe he saw the dates online. So I get home the next day. He spent a day and a half or two at the airport. Then he came to my house and we set up all these drums so he could backlight them and take those pictures he liked.
Wow.
And then he says, I have to go. That was Sunday night. He had work on Monday.
How hilarious. This drum here, let me zoom in. Is this a tabla or the end of a merididangam right here?
Oh,
On
I
the
know what
on
you
the
mean.
end, the bottom right corner, the little one with the black dot?
Oh, down there. I believe that's the smaller tabla,
Okay.
which I forget how we call them now, a tabla and a bayan.
Yeah.
Um, but
There's
that's
like
the smaller
25
one.
beautiful drums there. I think that tabla and merididangam are the hardest, most complicated percussion instruments to play.
Yeah, I took a few lessons. I found a great teacher here in Austin, Alok Duda, and I took some lessons with Alok. I never thought I'd learn to play tabla. I just wanted to get a bigger, expand my knowledge.
Mhm.
I took other courses in Middle Eastern percussion and Middle Eastern music, and this was '97 when Crimson stopped. With Bill Bruford, we worked about 3 years, '94, '95, '96 maybe. And around '97, we took a break and we did the fractals, the projects. And I
Yeah.
took advantage of that time. I said, I'm going to go back to school. And I took piano lessons. I took tap.
Oh,
I took tap. I realized all these great drummers are tap dancers. Steve Gadd,
yeah,
Gavin Harrison, whatever, Buddy Rich.
yeah.
Man, that was horrible. I'm doing like middle-aged wives class, in the morning out at some,
Right.
anyway. I
After
was
they
really
drop off
trying to,
soccer kids.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Me and three ladies and a teacher. But anyway, I was taking everything I could try to do to up my game, and that's when I found Alok Duda and took some tabla lessons. And then around that time, Tool came through town. I introduced Danny to Alok. So
Mhm.
now Danny's serious about playing tabla, so he did the homework and spent a lot of time. Alok moved to LA. In fact, he sits in, if you ever go to a Tool show and you see a tabla player, that's probably Alok.
Oh, wow.
They have
Interesting.
them. Yeah.
Just I wanna be respectful of your time, just a few
Yeah.
more questions, and I wanna give, relay a comment that well, I'll put it on screen. Steven Salamovich says, I think I remember playing in a percussion ensemble with Pat at LA Community College. I'm sure that's what that is in the 70s. Do you remember that, Pat?
Yeah, it's LA City College,
Oh,
LACC. I
okay.
absolutely went there and I absolutely did percussion ensemble, music appreciation, theater makeup, all. Um,
Cool.
I was living with the band in the house, a couple of the guys in the house, and nobody got up till noon. It's like, sorry, I'm up at 6 in the morning. I can't, I got to go to school or do something. So,
Had the same sort of experience where, I grew up as a little boy just starting to play the drums, watching the Monkees and learned like what a band house was.
yeah.
Finally, when I was like 19, I moved into a band house with three other members. One of them, by the way, played French horn and bass guitar. French horn's my favorite brass instrument. It's beautiful. But yeah, it got to the point like, this is crazy. I got to move out of here.
Well, I enjoyed the house. I got to give a shout out. LA City College, the teacher was Dave Smith. And I haven't had I haven't taken a lot of lessons. I'm fairly self-taught, but there's been a
Mhm.
few times when Dave Smith was a great teacher for me. I don't remember the guy you mentioned here. I can't actually read his on the screen's too small,
There we
but
go. Yeah, Steven Salamonovich.
I
I think
might
I'm gonna
recognize
have
his face, but it's been so long I probably
to.
wouldn't even. I mean, that was, gosh, that
Yeah.
was.
Not like you guys haven't changed since then, right? Like, you should have seen my hair.
Ooh,
I had great hair. All the girls wanted my hair. So yeah, people change. You
damn it!
know
I
this,
hate it when
right?
that happens.
I know. Hey, I did tell you before we started 11 kids, 19 grandkids, two great grandchildren now, four dogs, two cats, and now I got this. Anyhow, um, I want to talk about some of your amazing music, and I kind of want to address both of these projects at the same time, and I'll tell you why. We've got KoMaRa, which you released your second album last summer, and that was just amazing. I'll get to that in a second. That's you on drums and percussion. You got guitarist, bassist David Collar, and trumpeter and vocalist Paolo. Am I pronouncing his last name right? Is it Ranieri?
Yes.
Okay, great, Ranieri. And then you've got, I love this, Stick Men. You guys released an EP, Brutal, which is indeed brutal, last summer, which was, seems like 3 weeks ago, right? And both of those are available on Bandcamp. And that's Pat on drums and percussion, of course. Tony Levin, one of my favorite musicians. I've always wanted to meet him on Chapman Stick. And Marcus Reuter on 8-string and 10-string touch guitar. Both of these albums, the best way I could describe them is I kept thinking how cinematic they sound. You know, like these guys should be doing movie soundtracks. And I hope that doesn't like water it down or dumb it down or commercialize it in any way. But the music to me, and both projects sound so different, but to me, they were both lit up the theater of the mind. There's spookiness, there's edginess, there's motion, there's so how would you, for someone who hasn't heard these yet, how would you as a contributing artist describe both those projects, Pat?
Um, well, much as you just described them, there unexpected things happen in those records. We're not tied by whatever it is that
The
ties
three and a
into
half minute single.
well, yeah, all those things. I mean, there's a lot of weird music. You know, our friend Make Weird Music, Anthony Garone. I think it's Anthony Garone. I'm pronouncing correctly.
Yeah.
Anyway, we do make weird music, and we enjoy weird music. And these are opportunities to make weird music. I try. I mean, I love that you get the feeling that you're taken somewhere. That's what
Yeah.
I always enjoyed about music. You know, go on a trip. However you do it, you take the trip. So. I should add, David Kohler, the guitar player in KoMaRa, does a lot of film stuff. That's his bread and butter. So
Mm.
he's just done a really big one, which is he's Slovakian. And if you're not thinking of geography, Slovakia is right next to Ukraine. They're right there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of corruption. Anyway, he is involved in the music. We over here was Netflix. It was called Narcos. It was a
Yeah.
miniseries. A great flicks. Okay, this is the equivalent over there. It's the dark side of corruption over there.
Oh,
I forget the name, but that's a big award-winning movie that came out in the last year or two. But he's done a lot of film work, um, so it's not unusual that you think there's a cinematic scope to this stuff.
yeah.
I mean, we all think like that, even if we're not
I
attaching it to a
admire,
film.
yeah, I admire both those projects so much because they are so outside, like what we hear on the radio, where it just sounds like there's so much musical freedom. I'm sure there's boundaries within making each of those projects sound like their own. But once in a while, I get asked to do this thing in the middle of nowhere where we live that is basically 80% improvisation. And it's always, every time, this guy's been doing it 33 years. I was just part of his anniversary show the other night, and it's always a different lineup. Sometimes there's two guys that are the same, me and him, and one or two or five other guys. He plays bass. I'm on drums and weird percussion drum set. And it's that sort of thing that I have so much fun playing because I don't have to learn songs. There's little structure to it. And I'm not saying there's no structure to what you guys are doing, but it sounds like you're just playing your hearts out with what makes sense to your own music sensibilities with what you want to do. And I wish there was more of that. Maybe there is, and it just isn't seeing the light of day. But I'd love to be exposed to more of this because to me, that's what music is, not conformity, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. Yeah, we're Stickmen very, very lucky we have an audience that will let us do that, and that we
Yeah.
can make a tour that kind of breaks even just enough to make it worth doing, not impossible to do. That's not the case with KoMaRa or another project I do called ORK. Um, ORK is much more song, 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 and chopped them down to like 4 or 5 minutes. We put it all down. It's not these long trips. They're
Right.
almost pop songs, heavy metal-y
ADD
pop.
music.
Yeah, but we're lucky that, and unfortunately for bands like KoMaRa or Arcade, there's not that big an audience, and we really can't afford to tour. Everything we do is a lose money. Somebody has to put up some money to make the thing happen. So you're playing because you want to play, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
Which is why we start, I hope.
yeah, I
Right.
mean, my wife nailed it. I divorced in 2004 and met Deborah soon thereafter, and she had a hair salon downtown. We're married now for, oh gosh, 10, 15, 10 years, 15 years. Um, and she's really been a life changer for me. So, but Deborah had a hair salon, and Marcus and I played there, for instance, once. Other projects we played there. Anyway, she said, honey, you know the difference between a musician and a DJ?
What is it?
Musicians will play for free. DJs
Oh,
won't. A DJ won't.
wow. And a
We're
DJ's
just
not even
happy that we
playing.
put
Yeah.
all that crap in the car and, you
Yeah.
know, pay for the parking and everything. We got to schlep, and
Yeah. Oh,
we
especially
get to
the
play.
drummers.
We get to improvise with our three friends.
Yeah. I
I
showed up at that gig with there's a I shouldn't say the word, but I will. What some drummers would perceive as crappy, but if you're good, you can get great sounds out of anything. And I think I get great sounds out of this bass drum, a 10 or 12-inch tom, and a 14-inch bass drum. I mean, floor tom. And then I brought a 13-inch walnut snare, my own cymbals, a gong, some other weird toys. And I got all set up. And I told the wife of the guy who I'm playing with, I said, Amanda, I'm worn out already. I need a nap, and I haven't just from setting up, but playing, I've got endless energy, in my 60s because of what we get out of playing. So everybody should remember that. Also, folks, I'll give a shout out to a couple comments, and I have one last question after I mention this. You can see the Stick Men tour dates at
oh yeah,
coincidentally stickmenband.com. I don't think you're coming out to the west end of this country, are you? I looked through the dates. I didn't see any west dates.
no. Stickman did the West Coast last summer, which is
I
when Tony
missed it.
got sick, and we had to
Yeah,
cancel some.
that's right.
We had people set in for 3 or 5 shows, and then we canceled the last 10 or 15 gigs.
Oh, I'd love to see you
And
guys when you do come
well,
back out.
we just did the makeup of those dates just before Christmas. That's why we worked
Oh,
up until the 17th, I think, of December.
okay. Great. So, folks, check that out. They're going to be out that way. A couple comments here I want to relay to you, Pat, before we go. Rick Stoker, Sacramento, California says, thank you. What a great interview. Nice to see a little of Pat's collective great stories. And here's our producer, Stephen Shinder, says, no relation. Just kidding. He says, what an awesome seeing Stickman. He saw you guys at the Big Potato last summer. The stuff for Tony played very well. Couldn't see Stickman the next time he came to LA due to the timing of things, but glad Tony got better to tour again and would definitely watch again next time the band comes around. Great. Thanks, Steve. Cool. So, Pat, last question. The most important question. This is the Pat Mastelotto fun fact question. When you're, if the slivers of time allow you to be out of that room and away from composing, recording, producing, playing, jamming, collecting musical instruments, what do you like to do that's just completely away from music? Do you collect anything? Do you travel? I know you got the squeaky toy battles going on with the doggies. What do you like to do completely outside of music? Give us a peek behind Pat's curtain, if you will.
Oh, well, there's not a lot behind my curtain. I stay pretty busy. I mean, I like to take a break and work in the garden a little bit, just
Cool.
raking leaves before you this morning. I spent about 45 minutes raking. There's so much to do. I've got a couple acres here. It's endless, cleaning up. I don't know. I guess I'm a doom scroller, if you want to be honest here. Uh, I don't often pick up a book. I just start going through whatever.
I
I
get
don't know if
stuck in
it's
that.
Instagram. It's usually not Facebook. It's Instagram, or it's I don't know, The Guardian or something, or some other
Yeah.
news. Yeah.
Cool.
And then I'm largely trying to remember what am I supposed to be doing? Where's the list
Yeah.
of stuff that I didn't? Um, I'm sure you've seen him, uh, Siberiano, Esposito Siberiano, the most muscular wonder drummer of the
Yeah, and
since
the big
COVID.
beard.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's fucking great.
He's
Started,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah, started to watch him just before COVID. And why am I saying this? Because he nailed. Oh, he says I go to do anything else. He says I go on a date with my girlfriend. Whatever. All I'm thinking about is the music. I got to get back to what I'm doing, and that's the same for me, man. I'm juggling like maybe 5 records right now, working. I'll get out of energy on this or complete a task here and need to send it. I move over to the next record.
Did you
So
ever think when you were in your 20s, 30s, 40s, even maybe 50s, that you'd be, I won't say it unless you want to, the age you're at and being as busy in the music business as you are? Did you imagine you'd still be in demand and doing all this fun stuff and creating and outputting so much?
no, no. I figured honestly, I thought about this when I was maybe 20. I'm going
You
to be
go back
that
to
guy.
construction?
Well, not that I got out of the construction business, but I think I'm going to be that guy in the bowling alley over there. It's got a cocktail and a cigarette, and he's playing whatever "You Are So Beautiful to Me" or something. That's. I mean, I never knew I'd get out of playing in top 40 bands.
Yeah.
That's a long time. Uh,
Yeah.
I put my 10,000 hours in before I was even 16. I
Yeah.
gigged a lot. I left school and just gigged a lot. Uh,
Awesome. Well, wonderful career. Thanks for so much amazing music over the years. And thanks for sharing your time here with us. I'd love to have you on again. If you don't mind, hang on the line for just a moment after we say goodbye to the audience. And audience, thank you so much. You can see our calendar of events at drumtalktvbrilliance.com. Lots of fun stuff happening. We've got a great special going on. We're doing a talent search to find 4 new VJs to replace this guy on a lot of things. And we'd love to have you be part of our music themed game shows we do twice a month and lots of other fun stuff. And thanks, everybody. Thanks, Pat. And we'll see you all very soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.